Air and artillery strikes have again rocked Sudan's capital, Khartoum, despite a ceasefire agreed between the army and rival paramilitaries. Official figures say more than 500 people have been killed and tens of thousands have fled the fighting, which is now in its third week. A bus convoy organized by the U.S. government arrived in Port Sudan on Saturday after traveling hundreds of kilometers from Khartoum, accompanied by armed drones. Port Sudan has become an evacuation hub for thousands of foreign nationals who have crossed to the Saudi port city of Jeddah.
An arduous wait. At Port Sudan, thousands of people are desperate to leave Sudan. Many of them once fled war in Yemen and Syria. Now they are in the middle of another conflict.
We're suffering. Even in Syria, we didn't see a war like this.
The sea route takes the evacuees to Jeddah, but it's available only to foreign nationals or those with a Saudi visa. Most Sudanese have to take land routes. These Sudanese refugees have arrived in the city of Aswan in southern Egypt.
In a second.
Yeah.
Nobody expected this. Nobody.
Actually, I'm pregnant in my last month.
No way.
Yeah, that's why I had to. Yeah.
According to the UN, the most border crossings have been to neighboring Chad.
The war drove us from our home. We were with our children when the armed people came, and we fled to the bush.
The majority of those arriving are in dire need of food, clean water, and shelter. And with no signs of the conflict coming to an end, the number of refugees is expected to rise.
Let's bring in journalist Al-Sinosi Adam in Nairobi for the latest. A lot of desperate people at the border, Al-Sinosi. How bad is the fighting in Khartoum?
Well, Michael, it's very bad on the ground. Yesterday, witnessed two of the biggest face-to-face fights between SAF and RSF in Khartoum in two areas. One is Jabal Aulia, south of Khartoum, and the other is south of Durman, where our report says SAF won that battle by capturing 40 pickups and destroyed 15 others, and also 2 tanks. Social media is showing SAF victory, although the ground is showing us that RSF won these two battles yesterday, and more than 500 SAF soldiers were captured, according to our report. And Central Reserve Forces were deployed yesterday also in Khartoum. These forces are said to be trained in urban warfare, and it's an attempt by the government, by the Sudanese army, to actually end this fight between them. The situation is still very bad on the ground. People went to bed last night and were still listening to the sound of artillery and gunfire.
We know that thousands of foreign citizens have been evacuated over the past 2 weeks. Talk to us about how difficult it is for Sudanese nationals to make this costly and dangerous journey, and who is allowed to leave.
Well, I mean, right now, I think everyone is allowed to leave if they can avoid checkpoints, and if they can avoid not being caught on the crossfire. Sudanese, they have one of the Sudanese in Khartoum. They have one of the two options: either they take the northern route and they go all the way to Argin cross point and wait with the thousands of other Sudanese who are actually stacked on Argin. Yesterday, photos of the satellite image shows miles, like more than a mile of cars, of Sudanese cars, just stacked there waiting for the paperwork to cross to Egypt. On the other hand, those who didn't want to leave the country, They tend to go a little bit south towards Madani. Many people we've spoken to that get to Madani and to Egypt, showing us that it's not really that hard. It's just that there was a couple of checkpoints that people, the RSF checkpoints, people get in and just do a quick scan with the eye, looking for anybody who's like affiliated with the army or something like that. If you are, you will be stepping down from the car, and then the car will go on without you. Nobody knows what will happen to you. So, but those who can leave are leaving. There are others who are still in the ground, like we saw yesterday on central markets, kind of opening. Some people are moving here and there. This is these are desperate people looking for any sense of normality in Khartoum.
Okay, that is journalist Al-Sanusi Adam in Nairobi. Many, many thanks.
Thank you.